Hello friends. What happens when you blend the nurturing intensity of Cancer with the wild-hearted energy of the horse in Chinese astrology? You get one of the most paradoxical and magnetic personality combinations in the zodiac jungle. Meet the Cancer horse, a soul that's both an emotional ocean and a galloping storm. They're loyal yet freedom-loving, shy but flamboyant, introverted with bursts of theatrical charm. Confused? Good. Because unraveling the Cancer horse is like trying to predict the direction of a wildfire in a hurricane. Let's ride deep into their world. Love. The intensity of a summer storm. In love, the Cancer horse doesn't just fall, they dive. Head first. No life jacket. When they feel that magnetic pull of attraction, it's not casual, not gradual, and never calculated. It's emotional freefall with no exit plan. Their Cancer soul seeks a sacred, soulful union, something tender, private, and emotionally secure. Meanwhile, the horse side charges ahead, heart pounding with excitement, desperately craving newness, thrill, and passion. When these two energies collide within them, love becomes a powerful, confusing, and beautiful storm. 1 minute, they're crafting poetry for you in candlelight, the next, they're vanishing into a quiet corner to catch their breath and remember who they are outside of the connection. Their intensity is not something they control, it's something they are. They love with a depth that feels like drowning in velvet. Imagine emotional waves that come not in tides but tsunamis. Their affections are luxurious, overwhelming, and all-encompassing. They want to know every detail about you, your childhood memories, your biggest fears, the weird dream you had 3 nights ago. And they'll remember it. Every word. Every emotion. Their love language isn't just acts of service or words of affirmation, it's emotional saturation. You won't ever have to guess how they feel. But that same depth can become suffocating if they feel emotionally neglected or misunderstood. They give so much that, if it's not reciprocated, they retreat. Not to punish, but to protect what remains of their emotional reserves. They love deeply, but they also bleed deeply. For the Cancer horse, love is never halfway. Cancers, ruled by the moon, crave emotional connection and intimacy. The lunar influence makes them intuitive lovers, they can feel what you feel before you even say a word. They often pick up on emotional undercurrents, noticing when your smile doesn't quite reach your eyes or when your voice betrays a sadness you're trying to hide. They don't just want to be with you, they want to merge with you, emotionally and spiritually. Now add the horse's restless spirit, always chasing horizons. That craving for connection is interrupted by bursts of independence. It's not coldness, it's the horse saying, "I love you, but I need to remember who I am outside of us." This internal tug-of-war creates tension. They'll cling and pull away, love and distance themselves, create intimacy and solitude, all in the span of a week. Pair that with the horse's uncontainable passion and need for movement, and you've got a partner who can sweep you off your feet, and then sprint away just as quickly, only to gallop back with a bouquet and a playlist of sad songs. It's a pattern, intense closeness, followed by sudden space, followed by grand romantic gestures. Their love has rhythm, but it's erratic. They live for the highs, the first kiss under stars, the midnight confessions, the unspoken glances. But they also fear becoming trapped in emotional repetition. The moment love starts to feel routine, their inner horse rears. That's when they disappear for a drive with no destination, only to return with tears in their eyes and a renewed hunger for your presence. They don't run because they don't love you. They run because they love too much, and need a moment to breathe. They're charming and seductive, but not in a manipulative way. It's their sincerity that draws people in. Cancer horses don't flirt to win, they flirt to connect. They're not players, they're poets. They don't just compliment your eyes, they want to know what your eyes have seen. Their seduction is rooted in presence. They look at you like you're the only person in the room, and in that moment, you believe it. And usually, it's true. But they can become overwhelmed by their own emotions, sometimes unsure whether they're in love with you, or in love with the feeling of being in love. When this happens, they may pull away suddenly, confused by their own depth. But don't mistake their withdrawal for indifference. It's them trying to recenter their emotional compass. They genuinely want to make you feel safe, until their inner horse reminds them they also need space. This is where relationships with a Cancer horse can feel like walking through a dreamscape with shifting gravity. One day, they're pouring their soul into your lap, promising the moon and a lifetime. The next, they're unreachable, locked inside themselves, chasing silence. They crave safety, but not at the cost of their freedom. The minute they feel emotionally smothered, even by kindness, the horse bolts. But ironically, they expect you to be there when they return. And most times, they're heartbroken if you're not. The contradiction is real. They need a stable partner who can hold them emotionally, but who also respects their need to wander. If you can master this balance, you'll unlock a bond like no other. Sex. A dance of fire and water. Cancer horses in bed are equal parts lover and explorer. They're not the type to rush into physical intimacy. It's never just about the act, it's about the feeling behind it. Their Cancer nature needs an emotional doorway before their sensual side can be fully unlocked. They want to feel desired, cherished, and emotionally understood before their body follows suit. But then there's the horse, the wild one, the adventurer, the part of them that's intrigued by the unknown and excited by new sensations. When both sides align, you get a partner who makes intimacy feel like a sacred journey with unexpected twists, where tenderness is matched by intensity, and vulnerability dances with boldness. They don't just have sex, they create emotional landscapes through touch. They long for emotional connection before they fully open up, but once trust is established, wow. Cancer horses are slow to expose their full sensuality. They need to know you see them, not just their body. Trust is the key that unlocks their passion, and when it turns, it unleashes a lover who is both deeply attuned and wildly expressive. They don't just react to your body, they read it. Every breath you take becomes a signal, every shift of movement, an invitation. Their emotional intelligence flows into their physical connection, creating a rhythm that feels organic, not rehearsed. Once they feel safe, they go all in, sensually, emotionally, and spiritually. It's not about mechanics for them, it's about magic. The kind that lives in eye contact, in the slow drag of fingertips across skin, in moments where nothing needs to be said because everything is being felt. Think of them as a slow-burning candle that, when ignited, turns into a fireworks show. In the beginning, they're all softness, slow, deliberate, thoughtful. Their touch is gentle, exploratory, almost reverent. But when passion builds, it explodes. Their inner horse charges through any initial hesitation, and suddenly, they become bolder, more primal, more daring. The energy transforms from sacred stillness to raw motion. Their intensity can be startling at times, not because it's aggressive, but because it's unexpected. What began as a slow dance becomes a thrilling sprint, a rush of emotion and desire that overtakes the senses. The beauty lies in the contrast. They can switch between lover and animal in a heartbeat, keeping their partner on their toes and fully immersed in the moment. They'll memorize every curve, every sigh, and respond with poetic precision. Cancer horses are listeners, even in silence. They pay attention, not just to what you say, but to how your body reacts. That breath you didn't even notice you took. They noticed. That tiny shift in tension in your shoulders. They're adjusting. That soft moan when they touched just the right spot. They're taking mental notes. They treat your body like a poem, something to be studied, celebrated, and interpreted. They remember the little things. Your preferences. Your rhythms. The subtle signs that you're close to losing control. And they don't just respond to pleasure, they create it with intention. Every touch, every kiss, every movement is deliberate, designed to deepen not just arousal, but connection. There's passion, play, and unpredictability. Their dual nature keeps their intimacy dynamic. One night might be soft, quiet, all about closeness and safety. The next could be spontaneous, adventurous, filled with laughter and sudden bursts of wild energy. They like to explore, but only with someone they trust. Toys, role play, unusual settings, it's all on the table if the emotional intimacy is strong enough. The Cancer in them wants to nurture you during the act, while the horse wants to surprise you. This creates an exciting blend, predictably emotional, but unpredictably physical. They keep things fresh not by chasing novelty for novelty's sake, but by tapping into their deep intuitive understanding of their partner's evolving needs. They may not be loud or dominant, but they have an unshakable confidence in their ability to create pleasure, an artful, soul-stirring pleasure that lingers long after it's over. Just don't mistake their quiet moments for detachment. Sometimes they need silence to feel you. Aftercare, or even just lying together in silence, is vital to them. During intimacy, they are in you emotionally, not just physically. So after the crescendo, they often enter a quiet, reflective space. This isn't boredom or withdrawal. It's processing. It's absorbing the depth of what just happened. In that silence, they're still touching you, just not always with their hands. Their presence is felt in their stillness. They may hold you tightly, or they may lie quietly beside you, drawing slow circles on your skin. Their mind is still with you, even if their mouth is no longer speaking. Don't push them to fill that silence, they're giving you the final, intimate gift, the sound of their trust. Marriage. A safe harbor that still has an exit door. Marriage to a Cancer horse is like building a dream cabin in the woods, with a secret backdoor just in case they need to escape for a weekend retreat. It's a bond built on warmth, loyalty, and genuine emotional intimacy, but it only works if there's a balance between connection and freedom. Cancer craves the security of long-term love, the comfort of shared routines, and the silent language of familiarity between soulmates. They love deeply, and they commit with sincerity. But the horse inside them needs open skies. It needs options. It needs to know that even in the most devoted marriage, they're not locked inside a life they didn't choose. This isn't about disloyalty, it's about psychological space. They don't want to leave, they just want to know they can if they have to. The moment marriage feels like a trap, their passion fades and their spirit dims. But if the relationship is built with that subtle backdoor, emotional breathing room, mutual respect for independence, then the Cancer horse can become one of the most fiercely loyal and emotionally rich partners you'll ever meet. They crave lifelong connection, but they also battle a quiet fear of losing their individuality. This is the core paradox of the Cancer horse union, the simultaneous desire to belong to someone forever and the terror of becoming invisible in the process. Their Cancer side dreams of growing old with one person, building a life full of cozy traditions, family dinners, shared secrets, and hand-holding in the grocery store. They romanticize commitment. But beneath that tenderness lies the restless horse, whose worst nightmare is being stuck in a loop of predictability, losing touch with their passions, their voice, their sense of adventure. Marriage, for them, has to feel like a partnership, not ownership. They need a spouse who says, "Go find yourself. I'll be right here when you get back." That freedom isn't a luxury, it's emotional oxygen. Without it, they may emotionally shut down, becoming distant or passive-aggressive, even if they still love their partner. The key is to marry their soul, not just their schedule, to see them fully, and to let them evolve. Marriage works best when it feels like a choice, not a cage. Cancer horses are deeply romantic, but they're allergic to control. They thrive in a marriage where each person wakes up every day and chooses the other, not because they have to, but because they want to. They need autonomy inside the union. Give them the space to pursue their creative projects, to travel solo if needed, or to simply sit in their own energy without guilt. When they feel trusted, they shine. When they feel trapped, they retreat, mentally, emotionally, and sometimes even physically. A successful marriage with them looks like two people dancing together but not holding each other too tightly. It's trust over control, encouragement over expectation. In that kind of marriage, they bloom. They become endlessly generous, emotionally present, and deeply devoted. And they'll work hard to make you feel seen, heard, and celebrated, because they know exactly how precious that kind of love is. They love hard, protect fiercely, and remember every detail, from your favorite snack to that time you cried during a cartoon. A Cancer horse spouse is the kind of person who notices when you're quiet and brings you your comfort drink without being asked. They remember your childhood fears and your current dreams, and they take pleasure in weaving these into the fabric of daily life. They're emotionally intuitive and incredibly thoughtful. If you're sick, they become your personal nurse. If you're sad, they don't just console, they hold space. They create an emotional shelter around you, one that feels safe and sacred. But don't confuse their tenderness with weakness. If someone hurts you, they'll unleash their protective side, and that horse fire combined with Cancer loyalty can be fierce. They defend their partner like a knight with a psychic sword. Marriage to them means being someone's emotional home, and they take that role seriously. Their love is both gentle and unyielding. If they love you, they show up, again and again, even on the hard days. They're also surprisingly domestic, until the horse takes the wheel and decides it's time to sell everything and live on a boat for 6 months. Cancer horses actually enjoy creating a home. They find comfort in lighting candles, choosing throw pillows, baking something nostalgic, and making the bed just the way you like it. They're often excellent cooks, attentive decorators, and warm hosts. But every now and then, the horse inside stirs. And when it does, it craves movement. That might look like quitting their job to launch a passion project, uprooting the family for a year abroad, or simply announcing one morning that they've booked a solo hike in the mountains for the weekend. It's not chaos, it's renewal. Friendship. The loyal enigma. As friends, Cancer horses are ride or die, until they're not. But don't take it personally. Their loyalty runs deep, but it's also shaped by their internal rhythm. When they're in, they're all in. They'll drop everything to answer your 2 a.m. call, show up uninvited with soup when you're sick, or listen to your venting for hours without judging. They are fiercely loyal, emotionally intuitive, and surprisingly selfless when you need them most. But that same intensity can lead them to burnout socially. They give so much of themselves that they often need to retreat, not from you, but from everything. It's not flakiness, it's emotional preservation. 1 week, you're texting non-stop. The next, radio silence. But rest assured, if you call them during that silence, they'll still answer. They don't withdraw out of disinterest, they withdraw to recharge the energy that makes them so devoted in the first place. Their friendship is a cycle of closeness and space, and if you understand that rhythm, you'll never feel abandoned. They're the type who will help you move, stay up late to talk about your breakup, and then disappear for a week to reconnect with the stars. Cancer horses aren't half-hearted friends. They show up with action, not just words. They'll rearrange their schedule to be there when you need them, sometimes even sensing your distress before you say a word. They'll cry with you, laugh with you, make you feel like you matter more than anyone else in the world. But once the storm has passed, they often vanish into their private world. They need solitude to realign themselves, emotionally, spiritually, and creatively. They may go hiking alone, binge-watch old movies in complete silence, or disappear into journaling and music. Don't mistake this for detachment. It's just their way of processing life. Once they've recharged, they'll reappear as if no time has passed, carrying with them a renewed warmth and a deep sense of presence. Their friendship is like the moon, always there, even when it's not visible. They need alone time to recharge, but when they're back, you'll feel like no time has passed. Their re-entries into your life aren't awkward or apologetic. They don't need to explain why they were quiet for days or weeks, because when they return, they're fully there. Conversations pick up where they left off. The vibe never changes. That's their magic. They build connections that transcend the need for constant upkeep. Their friendships are based on depth, not frequency. They might not check in every day, but when they do, it's real. They bring with them not just updates, but insights, stories, emotional richness. And you'll never have to guess how they feel about you. They show their care in quiet, meaningful ways. A book recommendation that speaks to your soul. A song they heard and immediately thought of you. A text at the exact moment you needed it. With a Cancer horse friend, time is irrelevant. Connection is eternal. Their friendships often span decades. They're nostalgic, remembering birthdays, inside jokes, and the weird name you gave your houseplant in college. Cancer horses have long emotional memories. They're the ones who still have notes from middle school, pictures from high school, and text threads they never deleted because the words mattered. They don't just remember your shared history, they honor it. They bring up old stories not just to reminisce, but to remind you, we've been through things. I still carry those moments with me. Their friendships are like scrapbooks, layered, textured, sentimental. They don't move on from people easily, and when a bond is real, they'll work to keep it alive, even through distance and time. They're also the friend who'll text you, thinking about that time we nearly burned down your kitchen making cookies, 5 years later. Their heart is rooted in the past, but their loyalty lives in the present. They're also fiercely protective. You don't mess with someone they love. The Cancer in them is naturally maternal, always scanning the emotional landscape for signs of distress in their inner circle. The horse, though. That's the fire. If someone wrongs their friend, they'll be the first to step up and speak out. Their protective instincts run deep and aren't always loud, but they are absolute. If you're lucky enough to be loved by a Cancer horse, you gain an unshakable ally. They'll defend you in rooms you're not in. They'll take your side even when you're unsure of your own. And they won't just fight for you, they'll feel for you. When you cry, they ache. When you succeed, they cheer louder than anyone else. Their support isn't performative. It's primal. They carry your battles as their own, and they expect the same in return, not because they're transactional, but because they believe friendship is sacred ground. Business. The visionary with a plan, and a plan B, C, and D. In business, Cancer horses are intuition-driven and opportunity-hungry. They don't chase trends, they feel them coming. Their Cancerian emotional radar allows them to pick up on market shifts, customer needs, and internal dynamics before anyone else even sees them forming. At the same time, the horse within them is always ready to pivot, to run with an idea the second it sparks, and to take bold risks when others are still waiting for permission. They operate on instinct and curiosity, which makes them unconventional thinkers and often early adopters. While others make decisions based on spreadsheets, the Cancer horse senses the emotional undercurrents of a brand, a team, or a new idea. They trust their gut because, frankly, it's rarely wrong. They may not always follow linear paths or textbook strategies, but their choices are often spot on, and sometimes, just a little bit genius. Their Cancer side gives them emotional intelligence that makes them natural leaders. They can read the room like a fortune teller. Walk into a meeting with a Cancer horse, and you'll notice they're not just absorbing the agenda, they're tracking people's tone, body language, subtext. They'll pick up on tension between coworkers, sense when someone feels unheard, and quietly steer the energy toward resolution without drawing attention to their maneuvering. This empathy makes them exceptional managers, consultants, and collaborators. They know when to push and when to pull back. When they lead, they don't do it through intimidation or ego, they lead by creating a safe space where people feel valued and heard. And that earns them not just results, but loyalty. Employees and partners often go the extra mile for them, because a Cancer horse boss isn't just a visionary, they're a caretaker of morale, culture, and unspoken dynamics. Emotional fluency is their superpower, and in the right environment, it turns companies into communities. The horse side. That's the hustle. The urgency. They can't sit still until this idea becomes a thing. Energy. If Cancer gives them emotional depth, the horse gives them relentless momentum. They're allergic to stagnation, which means they're often the first to say, "Why are we still doing it this way?" and then have 5 alternative suggestions ready by lunch. The horse drives them to seek innovation, change, and progress. They're not content with good enough, they want to build something meaningful, exciting, better. This energy can be overwhelming for more traditional or risk-averse teams, but it's also what makes them dynamic entrepreneurs and creatives. They're not afraid to try, fail, and try again. And again. Their business style is often described as controlled chaos, a whirlwind of ideas, momentum, and intuition that somehow always lands on its feet. They don't just think outside the box, they burn the box and build a new one with secret compartments. Cancer horses don't accept limits, they redesign them. They're the disruptors, the visionaries who look at what exists and ask, what's missing? What hasn't been imagined yet? Their creative process is deeply emotional and nonlinear. Inspiration strikes during a quiet morning coffee, or a midnight walk, or in the middle of a conversation about something totally unrelated. But once they have a vision, they build structures around it. Not just one plan, but backup strategies, escape routes, and innovation maps in case the market shifts. Their strength lies not just in their originality, but in their ability to sustain that originality with actual systems and follow-through. This combination of dreamer and doer makes them lethal in competitive industries, because while others are planning one launch, they're quietly setting the stage for an empire. Whether in creative industries, entrepreneurship, or high-stakes leadership roles, they thrive when they feel both purpose and freedom. Cancer horses are most alive when they're doing work that matters, to people, to culture, to the soul. They don't do well in environments where they feel disconnected from the outcome or boxed into repetitive tasks. They want their work to mean something, to themselves and to others. But meaning alone isn't enough, they also need autonomy. The ability to set their schedule, define their goals, and follow their own creative process is non-negotiable. When they have both purpose and freedom, they are tireless, inspired, and magnetic. They light up rooms, launch trends, and draw talented people to their orbit. They're not just working, they're channeling. Their business is rarely just about profit, it's about passion, innovation, and the feeling that they're building something only they could build. Dark sides. The emotional labyrinth. Oh, they've got demons. Beautiful, poetic, self-sabotaging demons. The kind that write love letters in the morning and burn them by nightfall. The Cancer horse walks through life with a heart too open and a spirit too restless, constantly torn between emotional depth and wild independence. This tension gives them incredible strength, but also a complex inner world where shadows can stretch long. They often carry pain that they can't fully name, wounds from past relationships or disappointments they thought they buried years ago. When those emotions bubble up, they don't always surface gently. They can come in waves, of sadness, anxiety, doubt, or rage, that even the Cancer horse doesn't fully understand. They're not malicious. But they are volatile in their own quiet way. When overwhelmed, they withdraw. When cornered, they lash out. And when confused by their own heart, they sometimes choose destruction over vulnerability. They're beautifully flawed. And those flaws are written in the same ink as their brilliance. The Cancer horse can be moody, unpredictable, and intensely self-critical. Their moods shift with lunar precision, gentle one minute, stormy the next. The Cancer side absorbs emotion like a sponge, taking in not just their own feelings but the feelings of those around them. When unbalanced, this leads to emotional overload. Add to that the horse's restlessness, and you've got a person who may one day be euphoric with creative energy and the next feel suffocated by their own thoughts. The unpredictability isn't for show, it's the result of deep internal tides crashing into each other. They overthink everything. Replay conversations. Question their choices. Then punish themselves for not being better or more consistent. This self-criticism can lead to paralysis, where they feel stuck between wanting to act and fearing that any action will be wrong. In those moments, they may seem distant, distracted, or snappish, but inside, they're at war with their own emotions. They can spiral into emotional black holes if they feel unappreciated or misunderstood. The need to feel seen and valued runs deep in them, it's almost a survival mechanism. When that need goes unmet, they can sink into emotional darkness with alarming speed. What starts as a slight or a miscommunication can grow in their mind, becoming a narrative of rejection or betrayal. And once they go there, it's hard to pull them back. They replay the hurt, amplify the silence, and internalize the distance. Their Cancer side will brood in silence, while the Horse side may want to run away from the pain, physically or emotionally. It's not uncommon for them to disappear from relationships, even temporarily, when they feel unseen. They don't want to end the connection, they just don't know how to ask for reassurance without feeling weak. In this darkness, they retreat, hoping someone will come find them and say the words they can't. The Horse in them might run from conflict, while the Cancer wants to sulk and overanalyze for hours. This makes arguments with a Cancer Horse uniquely frustrating. On one hand, they hate tension and want peace, but on the other, they can't let go until they've emotionally dissected every piece of the situation. The Horse urges them to flee before things get ugly. The Cancer demands they stay and feel every ounce of the discomfort. This push-pull dynamic often leads to unresolved conflict, not because they're unwilling to work things out, but because they don't know how to without feeling emotionally exposed or caged. If pressured to resolve things too quickly, they may bolt. If ignored, they'll collapse inward, stewing in unspoken pain. What they truly need is time and space to process, followed by a safe, emotionally open environment where they can speak without judgment. Without that, they'll either run or shut down entirely. They may also struggle with commitment, not out of selfishness, but from a deep fear of losing their freedom. Commitment feels like a double-edged sword to the Cancer Horse. On one side, they long for deep, soulful bonds, the kind of connection that feels like home. But on the other side, they're terrified that settling down means shrinking themselves, giving up their dreams, or becoming stagnant. They crave devotion, but also evolution. So, they hesitate. They might drag their feet when it comes to labels, avoid defining conversations, or keep one foot out the door emotionally even when they're fully in love. It's not about disloyalty, it's about protection. They're scared that if they commit, they'll disappear inside the relationship and lose the part of themselves that runs wild and creates beauty. Until they're absolutely sure their partner sees them in full, and supports both their softness and their fire, they often keep a little emotional distance. Life goals. The dream chaser who wants to build a nest. At first glance, their life might look chaotic, changing careers, spontaneous relocations, new hobbies every month. But underneath all the motion is a deep longing to belong, to find that one place, one person, one purpose that feels like home. Cancer Horses are often mistaken for being scattered or indecisive because their outer world rarely follows a linear path. They pivot, they explore, they quit what no longer feels aligned, even if it was working fine on paper. But what many fail to see is that every sudden decision is driven by something sacred, an internal compass searching for emotional resonance. They're not chasing success for ego, they're chasing connection. Every new job, city, or creative pursuit is another question posed to the universe: is this where I belong? Is this who I'm meant to be? Beneath their unpredictability lies an unwavering desire to feel grounded, not in routine, but in meaning. They don't want to just live life. They want to live a life that feels like theirs. They dream of balance. Of building something lasting without losing their wild edge. Cancer Horses want both roots and wings, something society rarely knows how to give. They long for a life where the calendar includes both business meetings and barefoot walks at sunset. Where they can raise a family and disappear for a week alone in the mountains. They want deep, committed love that doesn't cage them. They want career success that doesn't drain their soul. They want to create art and still pay the bills. It's a delicate dream, to live free without feeling alone, and to be nurtured without being controlled. This is why they often reject conventional blueprints. The standard checklist, career, house, marriage, stability, feels too small unless it leaves room for magic, movement, and growth. Their life goal isn't to have it all, in a material sense, it's to have wholeness. To live without compartmentalizing who they are. To feel safe and wild in the same breath. They want love and freedom, security and spontaneity, success and simplicity. And they believe, deep down, that they can have it. Not because they're naive, but because they're determined to rewrite the rules. Cancer gives them the patience to build something meaningful, Horse gives them the courage to tear it all down if it starts to feel fake. Their life goals are not static, what matters most to them shifts over time, but the heart of it stays the same, authenticity. They want to be the kind of person who wakes up excited, not because every day is perfect, but because every day is real. They're not afraid to change their mind, start over, or pursue something new at 40, 50, or 60. Their goals evolve with them, not against them. And even when the world tells them to settle down, to pick one thing and stay with it, they continue chasing that balance where soul and structure live in harmony. They may not follow a straight path, but their journey is filled with wisdom, art, love, and lessons. The Cancer horse path often looks more like a spiral than a line, full of detours, setbacks, and reinventions. But every twist in the road adds depth to their character. They pick up wisdom not just from books or mentors, but from heartbreak, solitude, travel, and sleepless nights filled with questioning. Their life is a canvas painted with risks taken, relationships lost and regained, ideas born in chaos that somehow bloom into clarity. They are emotional archivists, remembering what each chapter taught them, even if it didn't end the way they hoped. And all of it, the good, the bad, the beautiful mess, becomes part of their purpose. Their wisdom doesn't come with a podium, it comes with eye contact and a quiet kind of knowing. They don't just share life lessons, they live them. Over and over, until truth becomes muscle memory. And once they find their rhythm, they become unstoppable, a force of nurturing power and revolutionary ideas. When a Cancer horse finally aligns with their calling, they stop running and start galloping with direction. That's when everything changes. They begin to attract the right people, the right projects, the right environments that honor both their softness and their fire. They become magnetic, someone who inspires not because they're perfect, but because they're real. Their nurturing nature turns them into powerful mentors, advocates, and changemakers. Their creativity, once scattered, becomes strategic. Their instincts, once impulsive, become visionary. They stop apologizing for their complexity and start leading with it. And those who underestimated them, they watch in awe as the Cancer horse builds a life not just of success, but of soul. A life that feels like freedom, even when it's filled with responsibility. A life that doesn't just work, it moves people. So, if you're a Cancer horse, or you love one, remember this. They're not contradictions. They're symphonies. A Cancer horse isn't a puzzle to be solved, they're a composition to be felt. Each part of them, sensitive and bold, grounded and wild, emotional and driven, is a note in a larger melody that only makes sense when played together. To some, they seem inconsistent, even chaotic. But look closer, and you'll see the harmony underneath. Their silence is as powerful as their passion. Their stillness is as intentional as their motion. One day they're nurturing the people they love, the next they're building a dream from scratch. That's not confusion, it's range. They were never meant to be easily categorized. Like great art, they're meant to be experienced, not dissected. When you stop expecting them to choose one lane and instead witness the way they blend it all, you'll understand what makes them so rare. They aren't flawed, they're layered. A full emotional orchestra, always composing something new. They don't want to be tamed. They want to be understood. Trying to control a Cancer horse will only drive them further into themselves, or further away. They don't resist boundaries because they're rebellious. They resist them because they've worked so hard to build a life that reflects who they really are. To be told how to feel, who to love, or what to pursue is like asking them to deny their nature. And yet, beneath that need for freedom lies an equal hunger to be seen. To be understood not just in their bright, generous moments, but also in their quiet ones. Their contradictions aren't walls, they're windows. Look through them with curiosity instead of judgment, and you'll find someone who wants nothing more than to be met with acceptance. Not fixed. Not changed. Just understood. That's the magic key. Once you give it to them, they open in ways that feel almost holy. And what they give in return? Unmatched depth, loyalty, and love. And when they are, they're not just unforgettable. They're legendary. Because when a Cancer horse feels truly seen and accepted, they don't just show up, they shine. They become a living embodiment of duality working in harmony, soft but fierce, humble but powerful, grounded but visionary. They'll champion your dreams while chasing their own. They'll turn a quiet moment into a memory you'll never forget. They'll be the one who changes your life, not through grand gestures, but through the way they feel. Their love, their presence, their artistry, it lingers. And long after they've left the room, something about them stays with you. Not just because they're complex, but because they're real. In a world full of noise, they are music. And once you've loved one, or been one, you don't go back to ordinary. Because a Cancer horse doesn't just leave a mark. They write their name across your soul. If this story resonated with you, hit that like button, subscribe for more character deep dives, and check the links in the description for more content. And hey, if you've ever loved a Cancer horse, share your story in the comments below. We're listening.